Hey there, and welcome to part 2 of my 3-style corners example video series. And in this video I'm going to be explaining about 10 move commutators for the corners, A9s, some cases which cannot be solved using simple 3 move insertions, and at the end I'll include a case where you may need to do more than one setup move. So if you watched the previous video, which I'll leave in the description below, I just covered pure commutators, interchanges, some interchange groups, and if you had a good handle about that, then this video should not be much of a problem for you to understand. So to begin with, I'm just going to set up a nice 10 move case. Okay, so in this example I've set up the buffer UBL to RFD to BRU. So you know that you have to do a setup move to solve a case when you find out that there is no visible interchange. As you can see here, this sticker does not interchange with this, like so. If you were to do that, it's in the correct permutation, but the orientation is wrong. Similarly, for obvious reasons, this and this are not interchangeable, and obviously this and the buffer are not interchangeable in any way. So when you see such a case, you know that you have to do a setup move. Next begs the question, what kind of setup move do you have to do? Well, you have to do one so as to create an interchange, which is pretty obvious. So in this case, if I did a simple R prime setup move, watch the white sticker of the white, blue, orange piece. If I do an R prime, it comes to the top and creates a nice U2 interchange with the buffer. Now, just looking at the direction of the cycle, I see this has to go there. So this sticker is where all the action revolves around. So I do a U2 to start, and then I have to insert this sticker up there where it belongs, that is here. And to do that, I'll just do a Y2 so it's easy for you guys to understand. I'll just move this down, and you can catch that piece nicely and move it back up. So from my angle, it's an L prime and then a D move to move that there, and then you do an L move back to complete your insertion, and then you can undo the interchange and finally undo the insertion, and at the end you have to undo that R prime setup move that you made at the beginning. So that was an example of a simple 10 mover, and I'll just show you one more case now. Alright, so for simplicity's sake, I've kept the same target position, that is UBL to RFD to DBL. So it's important to note that this sticker DBL is a sticker that does not have any pure commutators for it. You have to do setup moves for all the cycles involving the sticker, and as a result of that, there are A9s for the sticker, of course, but I'll get into that later with an example. In this case, to create an interchange, a simple solution would be just to do a D move, because that moves it from there to there, and that creates a nice L2 interchange with the buffer, like so. And then you just look at the direction of the cycle. This has to go there now, and that sticker goes there. And as a result, if you do a simple L2 interchange to start the cycle, you have an interchange first commutator, and you have to put this sticker where it belongs there. To do that, you can visualize it like this. If this has to go there, a simple, from my angle it's an R prime move, a simple R prime move puts it on the U layer. So all you have to do is just move this spot to here, which can be done with a simple U move, and the R prime puts it in, and then you can undo your U move. So that was a U prime insertion, and then you can undo your interchange and your insertion, and at the end you have to undo the setup move of D that you made accordingly with a D prime. So that was just another example of a 10 move case, and now I shall be moving on to A9s. An A9 is nothing but a 10 move case, except one of the setup move cancels. It may be the setup move that it may cancel at the beginning or at the end where you undo the setup move. So I'm going to show an example of both the cases. Alright, so here I've set up an A-perm. As you can see, we have the buffer going to UBR, going to UFR. And you may think that we have our work cut out for us because the interchange is pretty easy to see. It's on the U layer, but when you do that U interchange, you notice that the third piece of the cycle is also moved. So we have to look for a setup move that moves two pieces here out of this one layer so that we can perform a suitable interchange without affecting the third piece of the cycle. And as most of you know, in this A-perm, the first move is an R prime. So what that R prime actually does is it moves these two stickers over here while maintaining an interchange, but it does not affect doing the interchange will not affect the third piece. And in this case, you see that this needs to go there, and all the insertions and interchanges will revolve around this sticker. So doing a simple F move puts that in here where it belongs, and now you have to insert this into there. And a nice way of doing that, in an A-perm like this, you do an X rotation and do R prime D to R. But the logic behind that is when you do that R prime, you're actually allowing for this and the buffer to swap with a simple, from my angle it's a B2, from this angle it's an R2. So once you do that and undo that R, that's your insertion, R prime B2R. And then you can undo your interchange with an F prime and similarly perform the inverse of the insertion. And before you do your last R move to undo the insertion, you realize that the initial R prime setup move and the R prime that started the insertion both cancel out at the end and make an R2. So that was an example of an A9 where the setup move cancels out at the end, and now I'm going to show you a working example of one where it cancels out at the beginning. Okay, so in this case I have my buffer to FDL to DBL. Again, if you think that this can go there with a simple L prime interchange, well, you notice that you also moved the buffer out of its spot. So they're all on the same layer, and we need to correct that. Another important thing to note is that, again, as I mentioned before, this sticker DBL does not have any pure commutators. So that obviously means you need to look for a setup. And indeed, we're going to use the same setup. In this case, a D, to create this L2 interchange. And if you notice the cycle, it's from UBL now to RFD to DLF. And looking at the cycle's direction, you see this needs to go there, and that goes there, and this goes there. So an L2 move initially will not cut it, because once we do this, putting this piece in there is actually the wrong way the cycle goes. It's the inverse cycle. So we have to put this sticker into there. And I'll just undo that setup move for a second and hold the cube like this. From this angle, the setup is R, and to insert this into here, it's a simple RU R prime. So if you notice, the first move of the setup the first move of the insertion along with the first setup that I made actually cancel out into an R2, and you can complete the insertion like so. And then you can perform your interchange, which is a D2 from this angle, do an R, U prime, R prime to undo the insertion, and complete the cycle with an R prime to undo your setup. And that was an example of an A9 where the setup cancels in the beginning. And now I'm just going to move on to some cases where 3-move insertions will not work, and we'll have to use bigger insertions or longer insertions. Okay, so in this case I have my buffer to UFR to DFR. Now, as you can probably notice, these two form a very easy interchange, and this needs to go there. So you'll be all happy thinking that, yeah, I can put this here with a nice U2. But now we need to put this bottom sticker to the top, and obviously that is not possible with an insertion like that because it's not oriented right. So a nice 5-move insertion, which I use for this case to put the bottom into the top, is R prime, F prime, R2, F, R, and that swaps these two pairs of corners. I'll also show you another insertion which is also 5 moves and does pretty much a similar thing, but I'll highlight the differences between the two. And then in this case you can undo the interchange move and undo the insertion like so to solve it. And now I'll highlight the difference by showing you another case. Okay, so here we have the buffer going to RFD, going to FUL. And once again, you might note that these two can be easily interchangeable with an F2, like so. But once you do that, and by the way, take note of the direction of the cycle, going to there. So once you do this, do that F2. Again, you note that this green sticker has to come to the bottom. Last example I showed you the bottom going to the top. This example, it's the top going into the bottom. And once again, if you do your regular 3 movers, the orientation is messed up. So nice algorithm, or rather insertion, I shouldn't say algorithm, for putting the top into the bottom is R2, U, R2, U prime, R2. And then you can undo your interchange from this angle. It's a D2, where the angle which I'm holding it. So here it's an F2 from here. And then you can undo your insertion. And the nice thing about this and the previous 5-move insertion that I showed you is they are the same forwards and backwards, so you don't have to worry about undoing it wrong. And now I'll just show you really quickly how these two insertions are different. If you notice, I just set up the R2U, R2U prime R2 case, and it swaps these two pairs of corners as expected, these two pairs of edges, but it also messes up all this on the U layer. Whereas the other one, the R prime, F prime, R2, FR insertion, again swaps these two pairs of corners, these two pairs of edges, just like the previous one, except instead of touching anything on the U layer, it messes up the ones on the D layer. So it's imperative that when you want to insert something from the bottom into the top, you do not use the R2U, R2, 1. And when you want to put something from the top into the bottom, you cannot use the R prime, F prime, R2, FR example. So that was the difference between the two. And to conclude this video, I'm going to be showing you one case which requires more than just one setup move to do. Alright, so in this case we have my buffer to BRU going to LUF. Again, here you can find that not only is there no interchange, but what's even worse is that they are all on the same layer. So you're going to have to do one move. In this case I'm going to show you is an R prime move, which I use to create this F interchange. But you might think that's really dandy, but the problem is if you do this F prime interchange, then they're still on the same layer. So you're going to have to do one more setup move to get them out of the same layer. And what I do is, to get this white sticker to the U layer, I do an F move, and that creates this nice U2 interchange while keeping the last piece out of the interchange layer. So I'll just undo that real quick to show you again. Just watch where the stickers go. R prime to move it to the top, and F move to move this to the top, so the cycle becomes UBL to RFD to UFR. So this is a nice easy 8-move commutator, a pure commutator, because this has to go there and you have to insert this piece, this sticker, into there. So in this case it becomes an insertion first with an R prime move, D prime, R insertion, and a simple U2 interchange, and R prime DR to undo the insertion, and that undid the interchange. And you have to be careful about the order in which you executed the setup moves, so you undo them in the right order. In this case it's F prime R, and that is an example where everything is on the same layer, plus there is no interchange already present. So that is a case which is pretty nasty and it requires 2 setup moves to do. And with that, I think I've covered all the different types of cases that you can have while encountering 3-style corners. I hope the examples helped, and I really encourage people watching this to try setting up these cases and understanding how they work. And I will not be providing any algorithms or such in the description because it's up to you to understand how they work, and also you can try and devise your own solutions to it, because as I said earlier, there's no specific solution to a 3-cycle. And with that, I conclude this 2-part series, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. Do like and subscribe if you enjoyed it and would like to see more such videos, and thanks for watching.